Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Meet Tina. How's everyone's doing? Well, today I have, she is a professor, a communication study professor at USC San Bernardino. And she's going to be talking about synchronicity, how it happens, and can you make it happen? And what can you do to recognize that it is your synchronicity? And she has written some books too, which she's going to be sharing with us. So let's welcome Mary Fong. Hey, Mary Fong, how are you doing?
Hey, thanks so much for inviting me for a conversation on synchronicity.
Absolutely, because this subject is also one of the subjects that a lot of people are interested in. I'm sure a lot of people have followed their synchronicity already, but there are some people still like ask questions. What is a synchronicity? What are they? How can I tell if it's synchronicity? So you're going to be sharing with that because you are a professor and you have personal experience before. This is your personal experience and you're going to be sharing. And as a professor, you're probably good at that sharing as well. And also your books that you just wrote. So would like to hear all that about you.
Yeah,
How about
that? So let's first take a look at what do we mean by synchronicity? Well, it's when a person recognizes a link or a connection or some relationship between or among an event, a person, an object, a thought, a feeling you might have, and you feel like there seemed to be some meaningful coincidence here. There's something going on that's purposeful. And you can't really put your finger on it, but when you start practicing and becoming more aware and from day to day, you get really good at identifying what synchronicities are and how you can use it and how to read them. Yeah, so it is a vibrational experience. To identify these signs and objects and events and people and how do they relate and what is the message behind it.
So where our synchronicity comes from, Mary, from your personal experience as well, or from other people, where are they coming from?
Yeah.
And why should one even pay attention to synchronicity? How about that?
Oh, okay. Really good questions. Because we hear the definition of synchronicity and we say, okay, yeah, all right. But when you actually have to live it, it's just like, where's this all coming from? It's actually coming from our higher self. It could come from our spirit guides, from our loved ones who have passed on. It could be from, some people say from God. So what they're doing is tapping into the fabric of the universe. To communicate to us. They're trying to communicate to us to support us in our journey of life. So they want to communicate by validating what we're doing or asking or saying. They're, confirming. And at times, this is really useful in my research on this, is the synchronistic resistance. Because we always hear synchronicity. Oh, I feel lucky because I saw a white dove, or I feel good because I found a coin on the ground and that means something. But we haven't really touched upon the resistance part in which they're giving you a heads up and warning you about something. And so we'll talk more about that near the end of our conversation.
Good. I like that with warning because some people don't get it when they get that, warning synchronicity. Right. So with me or with a lot of people, Mary, see a lot of synchronicity in numbers, especially in the past, like I think before the 2012, before that time, that was like, and I remember this lady, what's her name? She taught the angels. She created angel cards, and she taught the angel Doreen Virtue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you know her, but she talks about the numbers 1111, 2222, 333, all that stuff. That would be considered.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Doreen Virtue.
Yes.
So 1111, we've heard of 1111, and that's a collective view of 1111 is alignment. You're in alignment. It's an angel number. And so when I was talking to my spirit guides through channeling sessions I have with an credible medium, I said, gosh, every time I look at the clock, I see 11:12. I keep on missing the 11:11. But they said, you have your own personal synchronized system that everyone should create. Okay. It could be 11:11, but they said, no, your alignment is 11:12. I said, oh, okay. Right. That's good, because I always feel like I'm missing the boat.
Right.
And I see the clock.
Would you say like everyone's, when they see the same number, would that be the same meaning or different meaning, Mary?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you see 222, like you wake up in the middle of the night, you see 333 or 444, that also signifies alignment for you. Yeah. And so you repeatedly see the same numbers, that means alignment. You're on track.
Right. Now, quickly, Mary, you haven't introduced yourself yet about your background, your experience. So people would know like, hey, who's this lady talking about synchronicity? You know? So I know you're a professor. So tell us more about your background, your education and all that good stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, I got my PhD from the University of Washington in Seattle. And now I'm an emeritus professor at Cal State University, San Bernardino. So I just only have probably about 4 more years of before I officially retire, although I'm retired, but I'm in an early program. And so I teach spiritual communication courses such as communicating compassion and love, dying and afterlife communication, personal growth. And so I've learned that independently for the past 10 years when my guides guided me or nudged me in that direction. And it's been really thrilling and exciting. But my PhD is in cultural and intercultural communication. So I combine both cultural, intercultural, and spirituality together to understand the journey of life. Because as each person, we have to learn about from our culture, this Thai culture, Chinese culture, Latino culture, we're brought up a certain way to communicate and be good citizens of that culture. So each all have different systems of what's appropriate. And some of these systems may overlap and some may not overlap. And that's where you have differences in communications, interpretation. So I like to look at that in understanding life, and then spirituality, in which it's the unknown that becomes the known, that we are truly spirits having a human experience. So that's what I do.
Ah, lovely. I agree with that. So let's get back into synchronicity again, Mary. Tell us more about it. And what would you like to share with us about this topic?
All right, we'll pull some more numbers out, like 33. For the collective consciousness, 33 represents ascended masters. Okay, so that means the ascended masters are with you and you are on the path of enlightenment. So typically that goes towards people who are really, really pursuing mastery of spirituality. And for example, in the past, we've had Jesus and Buddha and other important masters, in which they contribute massively to a planet Earth during their time. And so they achieved enlightenment and they shared that with many people. And so 333 is considered a powerful number to reflect enlightenment, and the ascended masters are with you in your path.
So I remember way back in the 2011, I woke up at 3 p.m. a.m. all the time. And everyone in my group, in my meetup, I used to have meetup group, I used to teach, they were, I woke up at 3 o'clock. I couldn't go back to sleep. So I guess that's mean the word, waking up and let me ask you, enlightenment, when you mentioned that, what does it mean, enlightenment, to you?
Oh, enlightenment is becoming awakened, growing into your frequency of understanding more spirituality. Now, I want to ask you this: when you saw those 333, when you were in 2012 or something like that, when you were
before that, a little before, yeah.
But you had mentioned to us that ever since you were young, you have this great interest in spirituality. You studied, you learned that.
Yes.
So that is reflective. So I want to explain synchronicity comes from within each person. our thoughts, our feelings, our passions, our attitude. And so when we emit that energy, like your energy of this interest of spirituality, knowing who you are and all of that, and becoming more and more of your version, the better version of yourself, that the universe, our loved ones, our spirit, God, everyone is communicating back to you because you're emitting that energy. And so our journey is a collaboration of the physical and the non-physical in co-creating our lives. So we're never alone. We may think we're alone because we can't really see them. Some people do see spirits, but as we move into 4D, 5D, we will have those capabilities. Some of us will have more increased capabilities of telepathy, being able to see spirits, be able to, hear and feel more and get more in tune, because that curtain is going to be thinning to no curtain.
That's right. I agree with that. I agree that everyone has this capability of, seeing, feeling, the intuitions sharpen each and every year or every month or every week now there, especially with the veils being lifted. You probably listen to some of my interview. People talk about solar flash, that's removing the veil as well, and we all are into that direction. And I think that's why I'm interested for you to talk about synchronicity, because that's going to be a frequent synchronicity happening to a lot of people right now. So it's no accident that you brought up this subject, Mary, to talk about this synchronicity for people to pay attention.
Yeah, it's very practical. And again, we're not solo. We're here. Our loved ones, our higher self, our angels, they are so eager to support us and to send messages. And if we open up our awareness, then we have this collaboration, things get smoother. But if you're just totally tunnel vision, you do your own thing, a lot of trial, error. You might as well your whole life doesn't want to be trial and error. You want to learn from your observations and your experiences. And so it is very practical. Yeah.
Now, good. Now, question I have is, you mentioned about 333. When a person start on their ascension journey, should they begin to see number 111 first, Mary, or it doesn't really matter what number come first?
Yeah, there's no linear sequence. It's just whatever's happening in your life at that time. We could look at the number 44 as a collective in numerology. That's seen as abundance. Okay. So it's like putting forth, or they said, I was asking my guides and channeling, they're saying it's like turning the corner. There seems to be an ending or conclusion occurring. And so, but in the Chinese culture, I don't know if this is like this in Thai culture. You could tell me. In the Chinese culture,
you tell me first and I'll tell you.
Yes. Avoidance of the number 4. And yeah, because 4, if you say 4 in Chinese and Cantonese, for example, C, 4 is C, but you could say C, Goyan C, meaning that person died. So 4 means death. So they have, like in Monterey Park, California, they have a city ordinance that they eliminate all 4s in the business addresses and in home addresses, because they are totally against 4s.
I had no idea of that, but in fact, about a couple of weeks ago, one of my Chinese clients did tell me about number 4, that is not a number for Chinese people. I had no idea, so I'm glad you brought it up. I totally forgot about that. But that's interesting that here in America, it's 13, but you know what? 13 add up to 4.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And we're going to talk more about those numbers. So then I asked my guides about this. Well, they say, number 4 is also considered transitory. You're transitioning. So death, you transition. So you could see it that way. It just means that's the.
It is true, because I do read tarot as well, also numerology. I tap into a lot of stuff. I just don't talk about here on my channel what I do. But yes, number 4, I always see it as like change, huge change, changing of home, changing of a lot of change, big change, transition. So it's huge, a lot. So every time when people in the year cycle of 4 always move, change, and change job and change home. So you're right about that. Yeah.
And so my guide said that if you get 55, for example, that means transformation or change. Now, they emphasize that when we create our own coding system of synchronicity, that 55 may not mean transformation or change for that person, because they might have a life experience in which they're walking down the street and they see a $5 bill on the sidewalk. They say, oh, hey, I'm so lucky, it's all $5. But then they equated at the same time that they looked at their watch that's at 5:55, for example. They say, oh, well, God, that's coincidental. And so that might happen one time and maybe they get happy. And then on another day, they're walking down the street or they're wearing their jersey that says 55. And then they win a lottery because, so then they say, hey, there's something to do with this 55. And it's not really change or transformation, but it seems to be abundance for me. So they're saying that you could create your own coding system. And when your guides are listening to you, you could even just tell them verbally if you want to make it really, really clear, or they could they know, oh, they recognize it as this. And so then they will use your coding system of synchronicity.
Now I got a couple questions more. The more we talk, the more question it comes up, Mary, as always. The first one, besides the number, the synchronicity can be also seen in like different things, correct? As you mentioned to me before we talked, signs, images, pictures, through different avenues, not just the numbers, correct?
Right.
And the second question, okay, you talk about your channel. You didn't mention earlier that you do channel as well, besides being a professor. So you got the Eastern and Western, or the yin and yang of your work, really, to share with people here. So tell us more about that too.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I do research on spirituality. And so I was guided. It's part of the memoir and talking about my experiences in a trilogy. So I do research by using a credible medium who does the mediumship and the channeling. So I talked to spirits on the other side. I must have interviewed at least 10 different spirits on the other side on a variety of topics. I do have my main people who I talk, main spirits or guides that I talk to. And they like it that humans ask questions and then they respond. They don't typically give you information freely without a question, because they say they like the humans to use critical thinking and be curious and ask questions. So they're not there just to pour out answers and all of that. So and doing my memoir, it's a collaboration with the spiritual realm and helping me understand what has occurred in my life, the themes, all these different events that occurred in my life. And they tell me what's happening behind the scenes, like, oh, you knew this person from a past life, or this happened because of this, or we helped you on this when you were on the freeway and you ran out of gas, and this is what we did for you to get you into safety. I mean, so it's quite fascinating.
So that's synchronicity also, correct? I would assume.
Exactly. Thank goodness.
So now you talk about your memoir. Is it up on for sales already on Amazon.com?
Yes, Amazon.com. And the first memoir is called Two Heart Nuts to Crack. And
love the name.
Yeah, Two Heart Nuts to Crack. And it's a fun read. And I have one of my classes read in my intercultural communication class, because it integrates cultural, intercultural, and spirituality to help them to begin understanding, when reflecting on their own life, and understanding different dynamics that occurs. And so I have some students who say, I don't read anything, but this book kept me engaged.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a multimedia experience. So, I highly recommend if you want to learn more about your journey of life. And the second memoir is the sequel to the first one, and it's called A Beautiful Blueprint. And so both of these books, and I'm working on the third one, I've been guided to write this. It was in my soul plan. It is in my soul plan. I didn't know it until the first session I had. Archangel Michael I was introduced to my spirit team, and I didn't know they were going to pop in. And so they started introducing different people. And so Archangel Michael or Raphael, I don't know which one, said, "Oh, we're so excited about the books you're going to be writing." I said,
What
"Oh,
book?
oh, yeah." I said, "Well, I'm glad you're excited. Then I'm excited too." So it just caught me off guard. So it
Wow.
was something very meaningful that I meant to share with as many people. Because, part of raising our frequency is learning more information. Because
I agree.
frequency is information, and you can raise your vibration that way. That's just one way.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, guys, I'm going to post the link to her books. All right. So don't worry. I'm going to put the link to her books so you can grab her books anytime. Just a little bit. What is the second book is about, Mary?
Oh, the second book is about the afterlife. What
Ooh,
happens
well,
afterlife?
that's a lot of interest in about afterlife. A lot of people have interest in that, especially, I know with the COVID things, a lot of people pass on, and a lot of people want to know where their loved one goes, things like that. And so,
Right.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's kind of good to know that there is comfort after life.
Yeah. And so in the second book, I also focus on what is going on in this pandemic.
Oh,
What's going on? I mean, if we're looking at superficially, there's a lot going underneath, and it's a major turning point in human evolution that we are experiencing now, coming out of the dark ages, moving into the golden age. And boy, it's going to be so beautiful. Right now, it's kind of like, what's going on? It's iffy. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. But when you know the information, where we're heading towards bringing heaven to earth. And that's exciting. And everyone has to contribute. That's why we're here.
yeah. Well, we're all here to contribute to each other, to the world, to each other, definitely.
Yeah.
Each one of us doing a different path, different work.
Yeah, it's
You're doing this, I'm doing this. So,
right.
we're just like doing things that we will enjoy and we're, I guess, born to do or good at or whatever,
Yeah.
that you just have passion about. Exactly. So guys, second book, also third book's gonna come out pretty soon too, but I'm gonna put the link to two of her books so you guys can grab it. Please support Mary for that. So now, Mary, let's get back to synchronicity. I asked you a question about besides the numbers, I like the way you interpret when you mentioned that it doesn't have to be the same meaning. So what other type of synchronicity that people will experience, and how would they know what kind of meaning? That would be a big question for most people.
Yeah. So, signs and symbols. We could look at, for example, near the end of the spring season, my neighbor next door, who is a professional photographer and takes pictures of birds and travels to take birds. And they're in magazines and all that. Well, anyway, he says, "Hey, could we go on your driveway? Because there's a mother owl in your pine tree up front with two baby owls. I'd like to take some pictures." I said, "Oh, okay." So anyway, so they were there for 1 or 2 days, and then one baby owl was missing. And we were wondering what happened to that baby owl. Is the predator? We're really worried because the mother was there and one baby owl was there. So I asked in my channeling session, I said, "Hey, what happened to that other baby owl?" Anyway, before I asked that, they left the following day. I said, "Oh no, the predators got them all." And so they said, no. The mother actually took the 2 baby owls to another location. She moves from place to place so that, the predators can't figure out their route, where they're at all the time. And so my guide, one of the guides said, if you look at an owl, that symbolizes wisdom, sacred wisdom. If you look at the 2 babies, that's new beginnings. And so he said, you combine it together as new beginnings of wisdom. And so he says, that's a gift from the universe to you. And I'm thinking, oh, thanks. I'm still trying to figure it out. I said, I guess it's along my spiritual path, learning more and more and more. And that's what is meant. So you can look at the synchronicity of having the owl and the 2 baby owls in front of my house and matching it or relating it to my journey and the symbology of the owl and the new beginnings, the 2 little ones. I have another one. Okay, so we've heard about honeybees, butterflies, hummingbirds, and dragonflies. They're all high vibrational. And so they're saying, oh, look, that's good. I mean, that's high frequency. You want to be high frequency and all of that. Now, one time, it was probably about 8-9 years ago. In my dining room, I have this large arch window, and I had 100+ swarming honeybees.
Wow.
On there in my house. I mean, I was pretty fearful because I don't want them stinging me. I mean, where did they come from? I'm looking around. And so then I called a honeybee, keeper. He took care of the mess, or not the mess, but just took care of them. And so then in my channeling session, I asked several years later, I said, hey, that event happened to me. What was that all about? He said, well, honeybees produce honey. They're the high vibration. And if you look at what you were doing during that time that those honeybees showed up, you can make the synchronistic connection there. So what was happening at that time was I was learning about spirituality in 2012 and just learning independently and just looking at a variety of things and developing my courses at Cal State. And that matched up reflecting what I was doing. The honeybees was being productive, which I was being very, very productive to create those courses, understand it, learn on my own. And that was reflecting to me. And so that's how the universe of higher self and our guides and angels communicate. Hey, that's good. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, would that synchronicity that's happening to you or to any of us are like a reflection of our current energy at the moment?
Yes.
But some of them being repeated so much because it's like a sign stop. I mean, like a sign that I'll go either way, either bad or good.
Yeah.
Would that be a mirror of our own energy at that moment? Because you're saying that that's actually what's going on in your life right now. So they show us, sometimes we're not seeing it. So they're showing us through, a large number of bees to tell you that, hey, you're on your journey right now. Is that right, Mary?
Right. I mean, at the time, I didn't know, I knew the definition of synchronicity, but I couldn't connect it until I talked to my guys and they explained. I said, oh, okay, I get it. And so then they know that I'm doing this this conversation with you. So I consulted with them. I said, okay, I'm going to be talking. So, so I asked them a bunch of questions and they gave me more information. And so I'm bringing it to you for the channeling session from the guys.
It's like, shall I talk to Tina? Shall I be interviewed by her?
This is all free of charge.
Awesome. Yeah, this is amazing. Now, yes.
Let me give you some more, just a few more.
Please do.
Feathers and coins are very popular. You find feathers along your path or coins. Now, when I was in my 20s, I started finding a lot of coins on the ground, just a dime, a penny here and all that. And so then after a while, I said, something's going on here, all these coins. And so finally I interpreted that I'm walking on my path. I'm on my path of grace or my Taoist path. Now, one in particular, when I finally decided to go for my Ph.D. at the University of Washington, when I stepped out of the car, my first step, because I could look down, I'm putting my foot down onto the sidewalk and there was a coin right where I was stepping. And so I asked my guides, that's what I experienced. He said, well, your spirit team is giving you a heads up. They're saying you're on the right path.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So that was, I mean, I knew it by then because I, came across so many coins that I kind of connect. I feel like I'm going in the right direction. I'm moving in the right direction. And feathers. Now the feather thing is quite humorous to me. Probably about 2 years ago, for about 6-month period, I kept on getting like tons of feathers. I mean, like big feathers, like hawk feathers and
wow.
I had like tons of feathers that I'd never seen feathers before. Okay. So I'll give you an example. So I go out into my backyard and I'm watering my, my plants. And when I'm just walking on that little sidewalk, I didn't see any feathers. And then when I turned around 5 minutes later to go back in my house, I see this huge hawk feather sitting on the sidewalk. I said, wait a second, I know I walked right by there. I didn't see a feather, but then that feather was there. So I asked in the channeling session, I said, okay, all right, what's going on? Who's giving me all these feathers? They said, it's your guardian angel, Serena. Serena
Wow.
is sending you this to let you know she's around you. And she has this real bubbly personality, kind of really youthful and young. I said, oh, this is cool. Okay. And so every time I find a feather, I said, thank you, Serena.
You know, it's true because you don't get to see feather that often. And when you get to see a lot of them in a, in the period of time, you're gonna figure out like, why are you seeing this so often? You're right about that. Now, Mary, you mentioned about synchronicity resistance, when we had a talk. What is it? What is that? Is there such a thing as a resistance to synchronicity?
Okay. All right. Before I talk about synchronistic resistance, which is really important because my guide says it's a really good topic because a lot of people, they don't read about it, they don't know about it, but it's extremely helpful. Before I talk about that, I want to give you another example that's really good synchronistic.
Please do, yes.
That could save you a lot of money. Now, this one is when it comes to sometimes, we're walking around or moving around, we get a thought. The thought comes out. Where did that thought come from? It wasn't like you were thinking about it. So what happened was one week I bought 2 leather couches, okay, at Costco. Or they were $1,000 each, all right? And so I said, well, I should change up my furniture. So I purchased them and it came to my home and all that. And then a couple of weeks later, I'm in Costco because I go there weekly. And then as I'm walking in the entrance of Costco, I get this thought in my mind. It says, go check out the leather couches that you purchased. Go check it out, So, that's the point I'm trying to make is sometimes you get a thought and that thought is actually nudged by my guides. So I just go walking over there because it was close. I walked by and I looked at, they marked down each couch $200. But I bought it for $1,000. Now it's $800. But the key is Costco. If you buy something within 30 days and they change the price lower, you could go to them and say, hey, I just bought this couch 2 weeks ago and you marked it down. So they refunded me $400.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that about their, the 30 days.
Yeah, guaranteed. Yeah. I don't know where I learned it, but somehow someone must have told me and I acted because I was just a matter of a day or 2 days away from.
Well, guys, if you didn't know that, hey, you just learned something important about Costco today by Mary. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I was told to like buy your furniture and everything from Costco because they'll, if there's anything happen, it doesn't matter how long, they'll exchange it for you or help you out. Very good customer service. So that's cool. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So to synchronistic resistance. And I was working with my guides. I said, what do we call this? Because I would give them one event, another event. And so then they kept on saying resistance. I said, okay, we'll put it together. Synchronistic resistance. So what is that? Well, that means the universe intends to get the person's attention to show where there's actually a better choice or a better option for you in whatever situation you're in. If you're trying to buy a car, or you're wondering if you should continue a relationship with the person, whatever it may be, you could get a thought, it could be a feeling, it could be a sign, it could be an action, all of those items I mentioned before. And so the resistance is to slow you down. Don't rush into anything. Like, don't go buy this house right away. There might be some other houses, other options. And so they just want you to be aware and reconsider the situation. And so you could think about, you go with the flow of water, go with the flow. It's smooth, it's the right direction. But when you start getting resistance on the water, that's telling you, you don't want to go in that direction. But the important thing that I learned, that the spirits say that one of the most important laws for them is that they cannot interfere with humans' free will. Free will, we have the free will. They can't interfere. but they could give us synchronistic resistance to give us a heads up. Warning, 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 look at other options. They can't tell you what to do, but they could give you a heads up. And that is the resistance. So let me give you some examples of resistance.
Sure.
I have plenty of them that I learned. And I didn't know about this at the time it happened until I started doing my research and they started telling me this is what's going on. Let's see, for example, let me look here. Oh, okay. There was a time in my career, it was the 15 mark of being a professor. And I was thinking at that point of leaving the profession.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, and I won't say the reasons why. I mean, I was in good standing, but anyway, so I said, I want to create a happy place for me. And the frozen yogurt craze came in around 2006, 2007, 2008. It was hot. I love frozen yogurt. It looks easy and simple. I'll do self-serve and all that, and I'll be fun, blah, and all of that. Okay. So when I was walking around the house for like 6 months, trying to figure out, should I go open the shop? And I'm not a business savvy person. I don't like business because I'm not into money. I'm into teaching and communication. Okay, so what happened that summer was that, believe it or not, there were like 100+ flies in my kitchen window one morning, and it was here for a whole week.
Wow.
And I got my fly swatter hitting them because you got to get rid of flies, right? But it's so bizarre. Where would I get those 100 flies? I mean, I kept looking around. There's no hole. There's no gap, but they were there. So day after day, I'd be swatting them. And then I was getting frustrated and kind of like, you know, you guys are a nuisance. You kept swatting them. And then one bit me. And I said, oh, okay. So I misinterpret what flies symbolize. And I misinterpret when the fly bit me. Okay, so this is later when I asked my guides. They said, well, you know, flies, they're not really good symbols. They're because, you know, if you're eating or you have a fly in your house, you always want to get rid of it. So flies are good vibration. So your guides were sending you, you may not want to consider opening a frozen yogurt shop because you got all these flies and you might get a lot of hassle and it's just not good vibes. But I didn't know that. Instead, I interpret it wrong. I said, are these flies trying to tell me to open up my yogurt shop? I'll get a lot of customers.
What a lot, 100 flies.
And not customers, right?
Oh my God.
You read it wrong. So that's why you have to develop your coding system or learn what's out there. And then once you know the coding system, it's just a lot of fun. And you can read the messages.
So Mary, we're once, you know, some audience here, they may be kind of, you know, still on the journey and learning, and even us, we're still learning sometimes. How can they get into the learning the coding system? How would they start? I'm sure some people would ask that question.
Yeah, good question. You just have to be aware and look at your experiences. You notice certain things. Like, I mean, if you had a house and also you had 100+ flies on your kitchen window, I mean, you can't ignore that. There's something fishy going on. Something.
So it's like how you feel, right? How we feel about the situation when we see how this synchronicity comes in.
Yeah. How does it relate to what you are thinking about? Because I was heavily thinking about opening a frozen yogurt shop. I'm not business savvy, but I like the idea of creating that, you know, that feeling of when people are happy.
Right.
And enjoying froyo. And so you just kind of observe, what are you doing? What are you thinking? What questions you have? What direction are you confused? Are you have a project you want to work on? Whatever it is, and you've got to kind of watch other things in your life and see if that's a response to what you're doing. Are you getting validation? Are you getting confirmation for opening that yogurt shop? Or are you getting resistance? And that was resistance, those flies. But I misinterpreted because I never read anything about any of this. I only saw the definition. How would I know? But that's why I go through this experience. I do the research and I bring it to you guys. And so,
beautiful.
Okay, now let me give you another example with this frozen yogurt shop. So I go to my first location, and there's the realtor that shows me the space where I'm supposed to build out.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm standing there and I'm not feeling very good. I'm feeling a little nauseous. And so then I go out to my car and I vomit in the bushes. And And I'm sitting in my car, and then my contractor comes out and says, hey, what's going on? We were wondering where you went. I said, yeah, I just felt woozy. I don't know. I just vomited. But it's so strange. I ate exactly the same thing like yesterday, and I was fine. I just ate a bowl of cereal with almond milk. I ate the same thing today. I mean, it's not like I cooked something and left something out overnight. It's just a bowl of cereal, right? And so then when I came, and so my handy guy said, hey, you sure you want to open up this frozen yogurt shop? But I was so tunnel vision, and I was so determined to want to move in a happy direction. So anyways, when I got home, I vomit again in the kitchen sink.
Wow.
Okay. All right. So those are two powerful actions. So I asked my guides several years later, I said, hey, this happened. What's the deal? Well, I think it was Archangel Raphael says, oh, sorry about that. I have to make you vomit, to tell you, yogurt shop, eating something, vomit.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah, the synchronicity. And I was at the location where I was considering. So, they closed the door on me. The realtor says, no, because they wanted someone who was already in the business. I was just a total newbie. And so,
well, the good thing they didn't accept you.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I still was at this one thing. You just don't keep on going. You got to look at these signs.
Yeah.
And then I didn't stop because I didn't know what was going on. I thought maybe the flies were going to be customers, right? And then when I got bit by the fly, I thought they were kind of like, go do it, like that. And I thought, okay, I'll do it. I mean, it sounds crazy, but when you're trying to figure out your life, I mean, you just, these were some of the thoughts I went through. So anyway, so I ended up finding another location, and it was an ice cream shop, and they had closed down. And so, but I didn't know it was the recession in 2008. It was a really bad recession, right? I ended up taking that spot, and I went downhill within 2 months. I gave my own frozen yogurt shop away for free. All the equipment, all the yogurt, all the toppings. It was a disaster.
Because you didn't listen to the sign. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why it's important we understand the synchronistic resistance. Let me give you another example. Let's see, okay.
I feel like when it doesn't come easy, or it doesn't feel easy, that's when it could be a sign to us, right? That maybe it's a no.
Yeah. But because I was so tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And I want to create whatever, but it wasn't like a lifetime passion. If it was a lifetime passion, that might be a different story. Okay. All right. So I was driving down the freeway, and so this furniture truck, the guy was texting. So we're in traffic, we're all stopped in traffic, and his truck keeps on rolling. So he hit another car, and then that car hit my car on the side, driver's side.
Uh-huh.
First thought I had was, oh my goodness, I have an appointment to go. Let's do lunch tomorrow. You know that dating service, you go do lunch with people. They
don't do lunch anymore. They do like what? Starbucks? Or even Starbucks, a little too expensive.
A lot cheaper, yeah. And so then, but the thing I'm trying to say is you have the first thought, and you connect it to, oh, that's stopping me because now my car's messed up. And so I said, oh, well, so I rescheduled. So I rescheduled it later on after my car got fixed. Then prior to me going on the first lunch date, I'm walking on campus. I've been there for at least 15 years. I twisted my ankle 3 different times walking on campus. But, I just kind of, twist and then it bounces back, but there's no injury. I said, this is kind of strange. I walked this campus for 15 years and then I never twisted my ankle. There's no rocks around. There's no crevice in the concrete. So that's kind of weird. So, but I'm hurrying to work, right? So I'm not really thinking it, but I just think that's kind of weird. But see, I didn't connect that to the upcoming appointment with let's do lunch and paying my fee and things like that. Okay, all right. So then I go on my first lunch date, it was fine. Go on my second lunch date. Then after the second lunch date, the guy really, really liked me, okay? And so once I drove onto the freeway after the lunch date, I heard this, what was that huge pop sound? And I looked around, and so there was a truck, you know, a little bit of ways, and it had gravel. So the gravel was coming out of the truck, and it hit my windshield. And so I got out of the next lane, and then I sped in front of it because I don't want any more gravel going on me. So I had a little spider crack on my front windshield. That was a huge pop sound, which was really loud and scary. And instantly I connected that to, I just came from this lunch date. I hear this popping. There's resistance getting my attention. And then they called me up and they said, how did it go? And so forth. He wants to go on another lunch date. I said, no, forget it. I said, I can take a break. I can take a break here.
You don't need any more break. I mean, you don't need any more dates, you know, you already know the answer. Wow,
Right,
that was a good one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. I'll give you a real quick one on the resistance.
Please do. Yeah, it's fun.
This is the first time I heard about resistance from my mother, although she didn't have those words. This is when we were all living under the same roof growing up. And my brother, he was in his early 20s, so he was going to his martial arts class. And so when he's getting all ready, you know, we happened to look through the kitchen window, and we saw my brother's car that was parked across the street, and our street is level, it's not on a hill. It's parked across the street, but somehow it went across the street, angled towards our house. And we was looking at it, I said, how did that happen? How did your car go across the street, angled? And then my mother said, no, you shouldn't go to your martial arts class. That's telling you don't go. So that's actually the first time I started learning those things, is that martial arts, he's about to leave, and then his car is taken elsewhere. He says, that might be a warning. You don't want to go, something's up. And so then my brother said, okay, I'll just park my car and I won't go tonight. And so against this resistance. Also, like if you happen to want to leave your house and you can't find your keys, that could be frustrating, but you know what? Trust me on this. If you are delayed, like you can't find your keys,
it's all meant.
Or your dog vomits on the carpet and you want to clean up before. So any of those delays, your guides are trying to say, hey, slow down, something is happening, maybe on the freeways or on the street, so you don't want to get in the middle of it. And so those are the signs.
I like that too, because, you know, then just kind of remind us to like, don't get upset. Don't get upset when things like this happen, because that's how universe may be telling you, hey, slow down. There might be an accident, especially with the keys and, you know, things that blocking you, or even the traffic can be so bad. You just kind of like, hey, chill, you know, chill with that situation, because maybe it's meant to be. Universe said, hey, slow down. There might be something ahead of you that could be danger to your life. And that's why they slow down the traffic.
Right.
You know,
right.
So I think that kind of show me, you know, Mary, that any bad situation that we think is bad may not be bad at all. Maybe just the way universe slowing us down for whatever reason to protect us.
Yeah.
And we just kind of live life, take it as it comes positively.
Yeah. And I
like that.
Yeah, we could take it a step further. Sometimes you might apply for a job, or you want to buy that house, or you want whatever, and the door closes on you. You didn't get the job. You didn't get that.
Don't get upset.
Don't get upset, because what's happening is you're being guided to a better choice or a better situation. And just say,
I love that one a lot, because so many people, including myself, I used to be that quite a bit. It's like, I get so upset. Oh man, I really want that thing. I really want this outfit or whatever. Yes. And you just like kill yourself emotionally over that, right?
Yeah.
And what you just said, correct. It's a better one for us. And, you know, don't kill yourself over that.
Now, for me, after I've gone through a lot of trial and error and not knowing about synchronicity and the meanings of that, what I learned is do not try to pry that door open. Don't keep jerking it and getting the hammer and trying, I want to go through that door. I want to go through that door, because you know what? If that door finally opens because you pried it open, there's a gorilla on the other side of the door.
Oh, that's a good one, Carmel.
You know?
I like that one because you listen to this, you're never gonna forget this one.
Yeah,
What Mary just said.
Yeah, the frozen
If
yogurt
it's a lot of
gorilla.
Totally. If it's a lot of resistance for us to get anything, don't even try. Don't get upset. That's gonna be a big gorilla.
I usually say, thank you, guides. I'm with you. You're taking care of me.
Nice.
And, yeah. And so
Now,
that's,
Mary, what about how does law of attraction works with synchronicity?
oh, okay. All right. So I got a couple of examples here because I asked my guides about this, and I kept wondering, okay, all right. So when I was an undergraduate, it was like the last semester when I was at USC, and I was taking this Asian American Studies course, and there was a Chinese guy in the class. Okay, so I'm Chinese, right? But I never really noticed him because we sat on opposite ends. And then, but it was the last couple of weeks, I ended up sitting on his side, and I noticed him. Okay, all right. So, but we're at the end of the semester, we're about to graduate. So anyway, in the week or 2 weeks of that time, I run into him on campus. I go, oh, hi, so-and-so. He said, oh, hi, Mary, like that. Okay, I said, oh, it's nothing to it. We run into each other, but I never ran into him before. And so then after we graduated, I'm going to the LA County Museum to see some China exhibit. And I take my mother and father with me. So I'm walking into the museum, and lo and behold, that same guy from my Asian Studies class, he's walking out with his dad. And I mean, that's really serendipitous. That's really cool. Coincidental, but I didn't know what that meant. So anyway, I said, oh, hi, so-and-so. I said, oh, hi, so-and-so, like that. I mean, you have to have timing. So then the third time around, it was like a matter of probably a week or 2 weeks. I'm at the supermarket, and I don't usually shop there. It's kind of like midway from where I live and where he lives. He lives in a more well-to-do area, okay? And so anyway, so I said, oh, I wonder why he's here. I said, oh, hi, so-and-so, but he didn't hear my voice. It didn't carry. And so, but I saw him a third time. And so I asked my guides, I've been holding this in for many decades, and what is that? Is that synchronicity or what is it? Yes, that is synchronicity. But I got no meaning out of it. It's supposed to be meaningful and purposeful. He says, well, what happened here? It was a law of attraction. Let me tell you, he had a bit of a crush on you. I said, he did? He never showed any of that. So he noticed you from the beginning, but you didn't notice him at the end until the end of the semester. So you both have that vibration or frequency of, I noticed you, I got some attraction here. And so the frequencies and the vibrations started matching up. And our guides knew about it because I had heard that he was one of the options of a person who I could develop a relationship with back then when I was a little punk, in my 20s. And so then his guides tried to nudge him to go out with me, because I asked my guides, I said, well, how come you didn't ask me out on a date? He said, well, he didn't think that you would want to go out with him. And he was super shy, very shy. And so then the guides couldn't overcome that shyness, so it never worked out. So it was synchronistic, and it was due to the law of attraction. Now, another interesting, kind of not necessarily similar, but it didn't really have any meaning. I have a colleague where I work at, and we came in the same year. And probably about 10 years later, I kept running into him in the city. I ran into him the first time around. I went to a yard sale with my mom, okay? And then as we're walking to the car, he just happened to be coming out of his front door, walking down the sidewalk. So we're just meeting. I said, oh, hi, so-and-so. Oh, I didn't know you live here. He said, oh, so that's very coincidental, right? But that's synchronistic, because it's really nothing random. It's a certain vibration, but I found out later what that vibration was. Okay, so that was one time. And then I ran into him over several years in which I ran into him at Ross, Dress for Less. I ran into him at Home Depot. I ran into him at Soup Plantation and maybe another spot. And it was just like out of nowhere, we run into each other. And
that's quite frequent.
with the same person. I said, but I have no attraction towards him. He has no attraction towards me because he's married and he has his kids. So I asked my guides to say, what is that? And they said, well, what is it? You guys had a similar frequency of, what was that? Freedom, meaning exploring. And the other one, a similar frequency of empathy, just having that empathy frequency. And I said, but we had no attraction towards each other. I mean, you're romantic, but that was the attraction, the similar frequency. And so then my guide said, well, there's also another element that's involved here. And that means you guys crossed your what is those energy timelines? We all have our timelines, and our energy timelines crossed. And that's where we ran into each other.
Meeting point. Wow.
Yeah, but there's no meaning, but there's something vibrational occurring because of our frequency and our timelines crossing at those points.
But you say there's no meaning, but that could also be the great friendship can be created at that crossing point, right?
Yeah, we're friends, but we're not real close friends. He's in the English department. I'm in communication studies, and we hardly see each other even on campus. And
interesting.
So, they also told me we've had past lives in other communities in which, we were like in business and trading. So here we're at work as teachers. Yeah, so
wow, interesting.
It's like a soul group. Soul groups, we have approximately about 100 people that are, more or less included from lifetime to lifetime. And we might share experiences, major, minor, whatever. Yeah.
True. Now, Mary, how about there's people, I have heard this before. Some people will go, well, I don't know what synchronicity is, and I don't know if it's coming in. How would I allow this synchronicity to come up in my life or create that frequency of synchronicity so I know where I'm going? I know if I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
Some people do not recognize that. How would that one increase that frequency of synchronicity?
Well, I just gave you a jump start. I gave you a jump start, gave you the definition, gave you plenty of examples, and all you have to do is be observant of your life experiences day to day. Some are mundane, regular, routine stuff, but things that stand out, like I was telling you, and various situations or people or things you might see as coincidences, you got to examine, where are you? What are you feeling? What's your frequency, your vibration? What are you thinking of, curious about? Are you deciding to go there or do whatever? And then you try to connect that sign or symbol, or maybe someone said something to you, or there was a particular act that occurred, or an object, or a thought you might have, or a feeling you have. And you start connecting the relation, linking them together, the relationship. And then when the universe, your spirit guides, your higher self, all of the whole chain gang, the spirits, they're saying, oh, she's noticing it. Okay, good. And so then they start feeding you more synchronicities, and you start noticing more and more. And then they're saying you guys are on the same page. You start learning the coding system. It takes a bit of practice, more observation, but it's just wonderful when you get support from them, because they want to help you during your journey of life. You're not alone.
No, you're not alone. And I have to agree with that, especially right now, with an awakening time, ascension time. I think it's so important for everyone to pay attention to synchronicity, because I do that, nowadays. Like I think I have mentioned on some video before, Mary, doing this YouTube, I just follow my synchronicity. It just happened. Yeah. And I listen, I watch everything, I listen, it just become very intuitive right now, where I don't look for it, but it just come and it will catch my attention right away. And I'll be like, oh, okay, go that way. How does it feel? Feels right? Go that way. Yes. So
Yeah.
that's how I do too. So I love what you just shared. Anything else, Mary, that you would like to give advice, motivation, to the listeners? And
Uh-huh.
even on your, I mean, we're talking about doing a next talk. You want to share something. Maybe you wanted to give a little bit of it's a little synopsis of what's going to be in the next talk that you would like to share with the audience. I found it quite fascinating too.
Oh, well, I got a number of topics. I'll consult with my guides to make sure if it's the right topic I should do. I might consider talking about the solar flare because I've been asking about that.
Oh, okay. A lot of people want to know about that. How about that, guys? Post comments if you would love to hear about solar flare, because this is. But I think a lot of people are interested. I've seen a lot, especially through my other interviews. So many people seem to be interested about that. So yeah, we can talk about that too. You guys consult your guide first.
Yeah. And also the after death communications. There's a variety of ways in which our loved ones try to communicate. Another topic, I know I was hesitating, but I'll check with my guides one of these days, or it could be in the immediate future, talking about twin flame soulmates.
Another popular one.
But I got to do research on that with them. That's another topic.
Yeah, that seems to be a lot of people are still looking for the one or for the partner, so twin flame has been, I remember right around 2000, before 2012, twin flame subjects seemed to be a hot subject at the time. And it just kind of sizzle out and then it's time to come around again for some reason, but I feel like it is kind of, for a reason why it's coming back. And you can talk about it on the next talk, Mary. How about that?
I'll do some research. And one last thing is let us know about this, about culture and intercultural communication. How do you adapt to differences and understand another culture? Because I do specialize in that. Other than that, I look forward to chatting with you again.
Yes, it's likewise. I love that with the, we discussed, we talked about that privately, Mary, and I really like that topic that you share. And I have to agree exactly what you have mentioned to me about the cultural difference, how we communicate, because so many people misunderstood each other because we come from different culture. So hey, that would be great education for the audience here, Mary. Yeah, you got a lot of stuff in your toolbox. I love that.
You're going to take a trip to Thailand, right? You tell your
I am taking a trip to
so
Thailand.
We can kind of match that up around that time, and then we'll
one of my goal to do. Hopefully, I have time to do it when I'm in Bangkok. I'm going to go to this temple. I don't know why I'm just kind of guided to go there. And this temple is wall to walls, Mary. There's a lot of drawing painting of this ancient creatures. Kind of like one of them is a human body with a monkey head, kind of like in Hinduism, Hanuman, that's what it's called. But that can remind me in the Bible about the keys of Enoch, riding a chariot, So and there's been a lot of discussion about aliens, ET, and some people believe that all these beings are also come from a different star system or they are extraterrestrials. So I'm going to try to see if I can video those walls to walls. I think you went there before. We talk about that. And see what the audience think about, if they can, figure out what this whole story is all about on the wall. I remember it caught my attention when I was a little girl at 10 years old, 10 to 12 years old at the time. And I used to be able to draw all those pictures at that age. Just my photographic memory, I would come home and draw all those pictures. So it had nothing to do with Buddhism. It had nothing to do with the religion in Thailand at all, which I never thought about that until now that we talk about all this stuff in a different interview. And so that got me interested. Yeah. So that's what I want to do, Mary.
I look forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that too. Well, Mary, thank you so much for being here, sharing the wisdom about synchronicity. It was so much fun and a lot of education, a lot of information that she shared. Guys, post comments, what else you would like to hear from her? What else would you like to know from her? Please go to Amazon.com, go down the link and grab some of her books. And yes, and read her books. She's quite intelligent lady here. And she's a professor at the university. very, very much. And I enjoy talking to her a lot. And remember, click subscribe, like, or share. If you know, can do us a favor, that'd be nice. Just kind of spread around the word. If you're new here, please do so. If you know, enjoy this channel. I'm trying to bring a lot of stuff into this channel because it's kind of like my personality. I told Mary before, I'm adding a lot of meditation. I'm going to be adding a lot more of the guided hypnosis since I'm a hypnotherapist. And also I'm bringing on live free readings from different intuitive readers, tarot reader, clairvoyants, or even different practitioners. There's a lot of stuff going on in my channel. I said a variety is the spice of life. So, you know, I like to interview like different type of people, different stuff that we all can grow together.
Yes.
All right. Well, Mary, once more, thank you. I'll talk to you again, guys. Thank you so much. Until next video. And I really appreciate you supporting.